Hey everyone, and welcome to the Being Politely Rebellious in Pompey video podcast. I think one thing that we can all agree on is that it can be really hard to dismantle dysfunction. There's absolutely a clear correlation between having role models and people around you who have reached elements of success, and the effect that this then has on your own abilities to find what freedom looks like to you. Perhaps it's finding a new job, sitting those exams you've been putting off, or leaving that abusive relationship. Our aim here at Being Politely Rebellious in Pompey is to give you an insight into politely rebellious humans who are living out their dreams right here in Pompey, despite facing obstacles along the way. We've just wrapped Series 1 and we're ready to share 7 incredible journeys with you. All we ask of you is to like, subscribe and share these incredible stories. And be nice. Always be freaking nice. At the end of the series, all new subscribers will be entered into a prize draw, which we will record and announce right here. So if you want to see Series 2, please remember to do all the free stuff. Like, subscribe, share, and enjoy Series 1.
When I stopped giving a fuck.
When I stopped giving up.
Yes, that actually, it is exactly what it says on the tin. I wanted to become something, but I felt like, going right back to the beginning of this conversation, I felt like there was more to me than just sing. I didn't know who I was as a singer yet, but I knew I wanted to sing with people. Yeah. Funny one I get is, oh, what happened to you?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because, how come you never made it? And I'm like, they don't know anything about what I've done.
Well, yeah,
but that's fine.
Being politely rebellious in Pompey, this is how shit's done. Keeping it real.
I like that's good.
Yeah. So welcome to Being Politely Rebellious in Pompey, and today we are joined by the amazing Amba Tremain, very well-known musician inside and outside of Pompey. And you're Pompey born and bred, aren't you?
Yes.
I mean,
no.
I mean, it's a PO postcode, right?
No.
No? Oh, I thought you were. I thought you were.
No. Do you know what?
What happened?
No.
Oh, here we go. Tell the story.
God, this is coming out now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to rip the plaster off.
Rip the band-aid
I was
off.
born in Southampton.
She was born in Southampton.
But I actually say that like, cringy.
But look, you ended up where the heart lies.
I've been in Portsmouth since I was about 10 years old.
Oh, okay.
So basically,
your parents knew better. They saw better.
Basically.
Saw the light.
I can't say that too much, see. But my dad was in the Navy.
Oh.
So we travelled to Gibraltar. We lived in Gibraltar.
Oh, wow.
For 2 years, between 8 and 10 years old, and then we came home and we settled actually in Emsworth, and then from Emsworth have kind of branched our way into Portsmouth and surrounding areas. So
So those changes must have been quite difficult as a child. When I think my son's 10 and we've just switched to homeschool about 18 months ago now, and just knowing how him and his friends like manage change and stuff. Do you remember what that was like?
I remember it really vividly because I used to go to like a little dance school from about the age of 6 onwards in Southampton.
Yeah.
And I was a massive like dancer and singer and did all the pantos and all those kind of things. And at the time I had 2 very young sisters.
Okay.
So we were 8 when I left. And then my second sister down, Leonie, would have been 4, and then the next one down, Tiffany, would have been 2.
Oh wow.
So we had gone through so many changes in that short period of my life. I can remember my parents renovating the downstairs of our house and us living up in the bedroom, all of us together.
Wow. And
there being boards across wet cement and all this. It was just crazy times. And then we all packed up our whole house and moved abroad. But I was in the middle of doing a dance exam, a really important dance exam. It's not important, do you know what I mean? But at the time, I mean, in the grand scheme of things now, it's not that big a deal. But it was a really big deal to me. I remember that. And my mum, this is how crazy things are, right? My mum allowed me to travel on my own on a plane at 8 years old.
To Gibraltar? To
Gibraltar. So my parents went out a week before me. I finished my dance exam and stayed with my auntie. And then she put me on a plane. I was allowed to do this.
Was that wouldn't be allowed now?
No, well, I know that there are ways of travelling a certain age group with people, but at the time I had an allocated buddy. Okay. So basically they just find someone on the flight.
Do you have a DBS check?
I just remember that she was an old lady and she had a pocket full of sweets. I mean, it just sounds like This
101, stranger danger.
A nightmare. Goodness me, yeah, literally stranger danger. But she was an old lady and she kept calling me Puddin'. Puddin', like this. And she was going to Gibraltar, so they had her accompany me, so I sat next to her.
Yeah.
She made sure that I was okay. I mean, the flight's like an hour and a half, so it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And my parents met me the other side, and I remember the feeling of being so young and then walking out into that heat.
Wow.
And being like, wow.
Hit you.
Yeah, and I loved it. And we were there for 2 years, and we lived in Marrow Quarters over there, where all the Navy kids, you know, my dad worked in a place called Foredock, and it was this, it was Navy base.
Yeah.
And so there'll be like Navy days and barbecues on the front. And
a real sense of community.
Yeah, it was a massive community. And I feel like ever since that experience, and then coming back and settling in like the Portsmouth area, because we came straight back and went back into Navy estates in Emsworth.
Okay.
So we've always had like this kind of community vibe.
Yeah.
And as my family has grown now from 3 daughters at the time, when my mum and dad lived in Gibraltar, they had a 4th daughter.
Wow.
And then a good few years later, after we moved back home, my parents separated, and my mum had 2 other daughters.
Oh wow.
So it's always felt like a massive community.
So are you the eldest?
I'm the eldest.
Wow.
Eldest of 6 daughters.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy.
And are all of your family musical?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where does that stem from? Where does that begin?
Primarily from my mum.
Right.
My mum, her dad was, and he was an amateur guitarist.
Yeah.
He never did anything with it, but he was he played the guitar and he sang beautifully. Apparently, my mum said, and so she grew up with that surrounding her. And then my mum learnt the guitar and she sang, and my auntie Jane, she danced and she did lots of ballroom dancing. But on my dad's side, although my dad isn't a singer, my dad loved like music and entertaining and dancing, and he was out in Gibraltar. He was a bit of a life and soul, and then my mum became the life and soul as well. She ended up becoming a radio presenter out there, and so they've always loved the kind of arts side of things, music especially. Music has been like a massive thing in our house ever since I can remember.
Wow.
Like vinyl, dancing, fame. You know, I remember being
like
small.
all the different genres.
All the different genres. I think that my mum and dad were together collectively, especially my mum, very much leaning towards the kind of soul and the kind of more singer-songwriter stuff. My mum's a massive Carpenters fan. She loved Barbra Streisand. My dad loved funk and soul and disco.
So this must be why your musical career is so varied, like the genres that you've covered and do continue to cover. It's so varied, isn't it?
I think that I will always be soul through and through. And I think that my other aspects of loving music comes a little bit from when I went to boarding school. I went to a performing arts school. So when I come back from Gibraltar, I got a place and a scholarship at a performing arts school in London, and I loved it. But whilst we were there, that's when the kind of Britpop scene started with Blur and Oasis, and there was like great bands like Cooler Shaker and Shed 7, proper indie scene.
Yeah.
And I basically, that is when I fell in love with wanting to be a singer. But my idols were Gwen Stefani and Alanis Morissette.
Oh wow, what combination!
Like guitar, like rocky kind of.
Gosh, can you imagine them two doing a duet? That would be pretty cool.
Do you know what I mean? It's cool. But I literally remember wanting to be Gwen Stefani. Like I thought I was. I literally thought I was very, very small then. Yeah. So I could have rivaled her, but I wanted to be her. And then Alanis Morissette brought out her album Jagged Little Pill, which had like Ironic on it and You Ought to Know, and they were just really in your face, like edgy. No one gives a crap kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. It was almost the beginning of that, not the beginning of complete change, because you know I think throughout history, especially with music, women have used music as a way to express themselves, but they were like. That was the beginning of like that proper kick-ass tomboy kind of vibe.
When I think back to like music that I grew up loving, and I mean as a teenager, I loved like R&B, and there used to be this like a series of albums, and like you know like Now That's What I Call Music.
What that's now like on 100 and something.
1,000.
And I last bought it at now 40 or
honestly,
something.
Don't
know, right?
They used to have another like batch of CDs that used to come out called Pure Swing.
Right.
And if you're like in your 40s, if you're in your 20s, Pure Swing was like the coolest R&B thing, and I used to get it on tape. So my cousin used to buy it on tape.
Yeah.
And he used to have like R. Kelly, Boyz II Men,
I remember
Brandy,
the TLC
Monica,
album on
TLC,
tape. Yeah,
Whitney, all that kind of stuff. So I was a massive R&B fan.
Yeah.
But when I went to school and when you're mingling with all these people and you're hearing all these different tastes around you, you're living in a different environment with different people. You kind of pick up on trends, and the trend was a bit indie and a bit rock, and so I kind of went with the flow and then ended up really loving it. But it wasn't until like Gwen Stefani kind of came out with the track with I'm Just a Girl. I'm just a girl living in captivity, your rule of thumb. She's like proper like in your face. She was gutsy.
Yeah.
She was.
That's the word.
Yeah,
gutsy.
She was gutsy, and she was beautiful, but she didn't try and be pretty.
Yeah.
And like Alanis Morissette.
And she hasn't aged.
No, she's amazing.
Like literally, that woman has not aged.
She's drinking something special. I don't know what she's doing.
Drinking the Kool-Aid.
Fountain of youth. But you have like Mariah and people like that, which I loved. Yeah. Mariah and Whitney, all those people, which was so stereotypical, beautiful, soft and gentle.
Yeah.
And then you have Gwen Stefani, Alanis Morissette, like people like Courtney Love from Hole, and all these, what I would say now, are like grungy singers that just came off a little bit grubby, and they didn't care.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the change, and then that was pretty cool and iconic, and they were playing guitars and they were thrashing around. I loved it.
Yeah.
And obviously since then you've had major music changes with people like Adele, who obviously changed the face of what is stereotypically what people are looking for in terms of pop. So I've gone through many changes.
Who are you into at the minute?
Okay, so I've got the Holy Trilogy right now.
Right.
The Holy Trilogy are people that you just won't know. Actually, no. Chris Stapleton, a lot of people know.
Okay.
He did Tennessee Whiskey. Do you know Tennessee Whiskey?
No. My husband would be so disappointed.
I'm looking at you on this screen and I'm like...
She's killing me.
You do know it. You'll know it.
Whiskey.
I'm going to play it to you.
I feel like my husband collects vinyl, and he's just as you know, my son plays music. Me and Amber have met very briefly once on a train.
It was brilliant.
We were both on our way to London, me for a conference, her to a secret thing that she might tell us about at some point. And it was just great. It was a great chance meeting, and here we are today.
I know. And your son does play, doesn't he?
He was just absolutely killing the guitar, the drums.
Yeah, I was going to say
just before I came out, because he's really good on the guitar now as well. But he was absolutely. I've done a recording. I'll show you after.
So he's going to be a musician.
Oh, he's just incredible.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It's honestly, it blows my mind. Like people like yourself, where it's just inside of your soul. It just, and I'm not musically gifted at all. I took music GCSE. But I don't really but I'm not musically gifted or talented at all, but my son really is, and so when I watch him, I think it's given me a whole new respect for people like you, because I'm like, oh wow, like it's from deep inside.
It's crazy, because if it starts there and you nurture it, it can become something so great, like a massive gift, because how many times have you been to a party or you've gone to something and you've seen like a live musician and you've gone, wish I could play the guitar, wish I could do that, it's not just something that you can pick up on. A lot of people say that some people
are different. I think between people who pick up, say, the drumsticks and go, I want to learn drums, and they sometimes can be quite static, but then those who are inside and you just... there's no choreography.
Yeah, you can have good singers who can hold a tune are very different to people who are like artists. People that can record a song and have it out there. So there is a difference, I think, definitely. But I don't know where we're going with this. What were we saying? We've got lost.
Tennessee Whiskey.
Oh yeah. So back to my Holy Trilogy.
Holy Trilogy.
Okay. So Chris Stapleton is amazing, and he is an American country / I would say soul rootsy singer. And he's never done a UK tour. He's just absolutely blown up. He's huge, but now he's doing a UK tour this year, and I've got tickets. I'm very excited.
Where is that?
O2.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so we're very excited about that. And then there's another singer called Marcus King, who at the moment, Marcus King, not everybody knows him at all. Again, another American like rootsy country singer, but it sounds like I'm into country, but I'm not actually a massive country fan as such. But it depends how you define country. We'll clear that up in a minute.
Those who do the kind of like mashup.
Yeah, it's just beautiful beautiful
Not
guitar
Beyonce
arrangements.
country,
No, not
we're
Beyonce
not gonna
country.
talk about
No,
that
no.
because I love the Bee, but you disappointed me.
Yeah, I think that was.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've seen her twice. Like, I'm a big Bee fan. I love Bee. Love Beyonce. I'm saying Bee like I know her. She'll be on it next
She's my
week.
friend.
Yeah, she's my friend. But yeah, it just disappointed me. I just think
It was like, do you know what it felt like?
doing it as like some kind of revenge thing or
Yeah,
something.
it just felt
you know?
like she'd gone, what haven't I done yet?
Yeah.
I'll do that. I know I'll have
And
another
the skin
one.
gets lighter, the hair
Yeah.
gets whiter, and yeah, it just confuses the hell out of me.
Exactly.
I remember going to the last time I went to see her, and I had stand-in, and so I could practically smell her. Like, it was incredible. And I remember at one point she sang a song, and I burst into tears. And I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, I go through this kind of identity crisis. Like, I'm not black, I'm not white, I'm confused, right? So this back and forth. And I remember at the time I had braids, and she just made me feel like really empowered and like I can look how I want, like I'm gonna do
I can be whoever I want, whenever I want.
Embrace that kind of, you know, black heritage or whatever. And then now she's doing country and she's white and dead skin and she's blonde, so it kind of takes away some of that empowerment that I feel she was giving.
Yeah,
people
but
of
you're not
colour.
the only one to say that, haven't they? There's been a bit of like an uproar about this as well,
Right.
isn't there? So, you know, I do feel like sometimes people. But then saying that though, as much as I want to say, it feels like she is just saying, what can I conquer next? And just selling out and doing whatever. At the same time, I do believe that artists and musicians, even models and actors and creatives, whoever, I do feel that it's wrong for us to think that people won't change.
Yeah.
Because in terms of music, people, in terms of what we listen to, we don't listen to what we listened to when we were 14.
Yeah.
We might still love those artists, but we're not necessarily into like happy hardcore, which was the thing, you know, and like 90s rave music and stuff. It was, everybody evolves, and I think that artists also evolve, musicians also evolve, and not everyone, like I don't know any musician that is just stuck in one genre and doesn't like anything else. Everybody loves everything.
Yeah.
And I love singing dance stuff, and myself and my other half, Colin, we've got like a dance covers band. We love that. Yeah, floor fillers, and it's really good fun. And then I've lent my voice to loads of dance records, but then my heart is in soul, and then I'm classically trained, and it's like you have this whole soundscape. Exactly.
No, that's true. And I think that touching on that, and the way in which we all have to constantly reinvent ourselves, and is that something that you feel is ever a challenge in the industry that you work within, like reinventing yourself?
Do you know what?
Vibe and
I definitely do. I'm completely, yes, that is my answer to that question.
Yeah.
But it's weird that it hasn't actually been something I've been asked to do in my musical career.
Okay.
I feel like my identity has had to change in my professional career several times, but only to up my game.
Okay.
Only because to be taken a bit more seriously and to you know kind of get further along, because outside of singing, I was a freelance vocal coach. Then I became like a music teacher, and then I became like the choir leader for a bunch of schools, and then I became the co-founder of a massive charity that was for children, and we used to do music, and then it became, that's mainly what kind of brought a lot of attention to me as a musician in Portsmouth, because I was teaching 100 children.
Wow.
So there's 100 children have families, and then those families come to your events, and then suddenly you befriend these people and they come to your gigs, and then that's how it snowballs. And there are a lot of people today that come up to me and they say, oh, you used to teach my Sarah or my Emily, and I have no idea who they're talking about.
Because there were like 700.
Because there's like 700.
Yeah.
And I literally counted about 10 schools and colleges that I was teaching at.
Wow.
And then from that moment when I started teaching the charity, and working with the charity, called the Urban Vocal Group at the time, my then kind of co-worker and / boss was like, you know, believe in yourself. You know, you deserve the reason why people are asking for you is because you deserve that now. You've earned your stripes, and when you haven't done a degree in that, and when you haven't got the certificate in all of that stuff, and you're just literally growing as your own self,
human,
you don't think that it's validated.
So like imposter syndrome.
Absolutely, imposter syndrome. And then it wasn't until I got to 2018 that I went to a conference, a music conference at the Guildhall, just literally in passing, because we had an office at the Guildhall with the charity, and I went in and there was a university there pitching what they were doing, and also working with young musicians from across the South Coast. And I thought, this is really great. So I left them a pack. I couldn't stay, so I left them a pack of things that I've done with the kids.
Right.
One of them was an artist development program, which is basically taking young people and then helping them to become artists in their own right. And I had a phone call saying, we love what you do you want to come and have a chat with us? And I thought, this is brilliant, because I get to link up my project with some great, credible people. And so I went to Brighton, where they're based, and I met them. They offered me a job there and then. They were like, do you want to come and be a lecturer? Wow. So this was the first time I'd stepped away from secondary education and like teaching colleges. Yeah. And I moved into lecturing at university with no degree. Wow. And I was like, do you sure you want me? Yeah. And they were like, no,
you
they
know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they need you. You're still out gigging. And I was like, okay. And then they said, and also we want to put you on a master's degree, so you can bypass everything, do your master's, but your master's is based on your last 15 years of work. So I was like, oh my god, I've always wanted to have that certificate, and I never saw anything through. I've started a degree in photography. I started my PGCE when I was working at Southampton College. And music for me always got in the way. Yeah. It was always like,
well, it's juggling it all as well, and
a mum,
and you, exactly. That's what I was literally just going to say. And you've always been a mum too.
And just life got in the way. Yeah. But I started teaching with them, and I loved it. Like I loved it, and I thrived on it. And then partnering that alongside doing an MA, when I got my master's degree, and I felt like I had validation. It's personal validation. Nobody needs it. Yeah. But some people want it. Yeah. And because I felt like I failed a little bit, and I shouldn't ever think like that.
No, of course
I felt like I had.
Yeah.
This was the first time I gone, oh my god. I feel like I've climbed the ladder.
I can do that. Yeah.
And I've reached the top, and I've had a little peer over. Yeah. And I'm alright.
I don't want to do another MA.
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
It was the most stressful thing I've ever done in my whole life.
Well, I went to uni when I was in my early 20s. I always wanted to be a teacher, so I went and studied English, and more to prove a point than anything else. I have become a teacher, and I've never really used it, but it was that validation thing of, this little girl from a council estate in Somerstown who will amount to nothing. No, screw you. So yeah, like never used it or whatever, but like you say,
But the thing is, you probably have used it because it's what it teaches you.
I didn't talk like this.
Yeah, it's what it teaches you. And I think
before the degree.
Exactly. Anybody who said, I didn't come back to education. I didn't go to university straight out of kind of stage school. Yeah. I went out to become a pop star, and that didn't happen because I literally began work in a pub, and then a couple of years into me being at home, I felt pregnant.
I was going to ask you actually. So like, where's the journey there? Yeah. So you've left the performing arts school.
Yeah, 18 years old, fresh out.
And then what? So after that, you come back to Portsmouth.
I came back to Portsmouth, and then this was at a really, really weird time. So much has changed. Like now, you can literally go onto YouTube and teach yourself something. Yeah. Like to a professional level.
Or make yourself a superstar via YouTube and TikTok, right?
And
you didn't have that
gratification. We didn't. And you know what? I came out of stage school and I came home and I realised that everything I wanted to do was back in London. Right. And everything was then. Okay. Like auditions. Yeah. And everything was a cruise ship audition or a West End audition.
And that I felt so limited.
I felt so like I don't know who I am. Yeah. And then I came back and I ended up getting a bar job in Havant and hanging out with a whole bunch of new people, making new friends, one of which was my son's father, and we gave a relationship a go, but I was young, very young. I was separated when he was 2. And I just sang in karaoke bars for fun with my mum. Yeah. And it wasn't until
blows my mind.
Yeah, it was.
That was your life then, like just singing for fun.
I literally was just singing in a karaoke bar. That was
the powerhouse.
Yeah, literally, nothing. And my mum had a friend, and he gave her a little piece of paper with a number on and said, ring this number, there's a TV show happening called This Is My Moment. It was hosted by Mel B.
Okay, yeah, I've seen some clips on this one actually.
Long, very, very long story short, you have to sing down the phone.
Yeah.
And you get sort of like 30 seconds to impress him. And I just had a baby, he was 4 months old, and I genuinely was like, didn't have a clue what I was doing in my life.
Yeah.
And I sang on the phone, and apparently there were like...
Down the phone, that's crazy, isn't it?
There were like 56,000 people that entered that week.
Wow.
And then they chose 50. Then from 50 we got taken to Manchester, and then we auditioned that day, and if you were successful to 5, you stayed. Wow. And you stayed in a hotel, and then they put you up, and then you're on the live TV final the week afterwards.
Wow.
So the week of training. And then, so I went up and auditioned as part of 50, and they called my name out first, and I was one of the 5.
Wow.
So through to the live TV final, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was 20.
You've never done any type of TV work at this point?
Never done anything that put me in the spotlight.
Okay.
It was like I was part of a group, or I was, doing a bit of panto or doing a school show, or you know what I mean? So I didn't really know who I was at that point.
That must have been such a big deal for your family as well.
It was the biggest thing that's ever happened to us.
Yeah.
It was funny really, because I won a lot of money from that. I won 150 grand that night.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
There's someone actually drilling.
I know.
Sorry.
Were you successful?
Well, I did ask, so hopefully. So 150 grand?
Yeah.
Like, so does the taxman take some of that?
No.
Like, how does
tax
that work?
free. It was literally, so you go on and you sing, and then what happens is it's open to the public vote.
Yeah.
And so the public, for every vote you get, they pay £1 to vote for you. And I'm going to freeze.
You're going to hang me up.
No, I love it. Great. This is brilliant. Actually, I left you some fun messages whilst you've gone.
Sorry, what?
I left you some fun messages.
Bloopers.
Yeah, so
150 grand, right? So
basically, what you do is you're singing, and then it goes to a public vote. The public pay £1 to vote.
Right.
And every £1, half of it goes to you.
Okay.
So when you get there, and you might win with a few thousand votes, but I won with 304,000 public votes, which equated to £152,000. And
So there was no winner. It was just
I won.
Oh, you won.
Yeah. So basically,
you only got that money if you were the winner.
The top person took the money. The rest of them didn't take any. So, but they all got told the value of how many votes they had.
Wow.
Basically, and like Mel B's catchphrase was "How many votes?" and then it would like reel up on the screen.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, she was lovely as well.
She changed my life, Mel B. Like when
That's
her
cool,
and the Spice Girls came out.
Well, I thought I was Emma Bunton.
Oh, there you go. All of a sudden, my afro was cool. And,
leopard print skin.
Leopard print. I might have to add a photo.
Please do.
You with the leopard print.
I love it.
All the cows
Love
with the
to see
leopard print. So, beyond the money in that situation, was there anything thereafter with that situation?
So when I came out of that, this is again, like I say, so much has changed in the industry. When I came out of that, I was pretty much preyed upon by the wrong people, and I ended up getting involved with some managers.
So much now, don't you?
Yeah, with managers, and they took £35,000 from me, and they took it in instalments. So basically, we hooked up with these managers because we had no experience. We were very naive, and we hooked up with these managers from London. They were going to make me a superstar, and
were they recommended to you by the TV, or were they just trying that up?
The TV then literally say, "Well done,
thank you."
Yeah, and then your check's in the post.
Right.
So there was no after.
Was it actually a check as well?
Basically, right. So this is what happened.
No bank.
They said, right. Oh my god, I have to tell you the story. Right. Okay. So the day I got through, and I went to my lovely hotel room in Manchester on my own. First time away from my baby and my family in this huge, big posh hotel room in Manchester. I got a phone call, and I was sat on my bed, and I answered the phone. It was my bank, and my bank telling me that I was over my overdraft. And I also, didn't know I had an overdraft really, because basically when you're like of a certain age, 19 or something, or however old it was, your bank just changes over to a different account because of your age. But again, very naive, had a baby, didn't use my bank because I was off because I had a baby, and also when I was working in a pub, you got a pay packet in a brown envelope.
Brown envelope. I used to work down
£35. It just wasn't. I didn't even need my bank.
Yeah.
Anyway, I ended up
how times have changed.
Yeah, I ended up with this overdraft that had crept up, and it was like the beginning of just disastrous things that happen when you're an adult, basically. But my bank phoned me, and they were lovely, and they just said, you're over your overdraft, or you're in your overdraft, how do you propose to clear this off? And I, at 20 years old, was like, okay, well, actually, I said, I'm on this TV show, and they were like, oh, well done, congratulations. And I said, and I know that I get £1,000 expenses.
Right.
I said, so actually, I said, I can, it's going to be great. And they were like, well done, have a lovely time. Okay, we'll speak to you on Monday.
Yeah.
Right, this was like...
I bet they thought you were just pulling a fast one.
Well,
all the stories we've heard.
Yeah, they just seemed okay, and I didn't think anything of it. Anyway, I did this TV show, and I was told, guaranteed £1,000, and I was like, okay, washing machine, this is going to be brilliant. I'm going to pay off my...
Were you living on your own by this point?
No, I was with my partner, but we had actually applied
but like in
like
your
a little
own
flat
place.
together. So we hadn't yet even moved in, but it was the plan.
Yeah.
We had somewhere to go to, and it was all happening all at the same time. And I had a 4-month-old baby. And anyway, so I said I'll clear it off. I did a TV show, and as it turns out, I won more than £1,000. I won £152,000. And they literally said, right, as soon as you're done, they whipped you into a TV room, and you're on the phone to The Sun and to the Daily Mail and all these places, and you're giving a quick interview. The crowds are still outside of the audience. And there was something like 8 million viewers that week. And it was just crazy stuff. Took me into a room, and I got to talk to them about how I felt, and it just started to sink in, and I was like, that was crazy. And then the aftercare that I got, literally, I went home that night. So the aftercare that I got was, I was told, right, in the next 3 days, you're going to get a cheque for £27,000. And then you'll get the balance 15 days later. Right. So I was like, okay, all right then. And I remember being at home, and my bank, that was it. My bank, when they spoke to me, they said, come in and see us on Monday. Anyway, I was staying at my mum's house, and there was a hand-delivered letter from my bank to my mum's address. Didn't have a stamp, didn't have anything on it, and it just said, hello, Mr. Tremain, congratulations on your win. They literally were watching. Banks must do that. They must look at people who win the lottery and stuff and go, right, how much debt have they got?
Coming for you.
How much debt have they got, yeah. Anyway, and they said, we'd love to offer you an appointment to talk about your financial situation.
Wow.
Come in today at 3 p.m. So I went into the bank, and I'm telling you now, my life changed, because as soon as I hit the street, there was beeping. Around my mum's house, there were like flags up with my name on the roundabouts and all that kind of stuff. I went into Tesco's, and people stopping me saying, can I talk to you? And I was like, yes. And then I'll never forget somebody on that very day asking me for my autograph in Argos. And I was like,
she hit the jackpot.
I hit the flipping jackpot, people.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I went to my bank.
You must get that now, though. I remember. I think I always said to you, "Aren't you? Excuse me, you're Amba Tremain."
Yeah. No, it's weird because it's happened for different reasons at different times. So it started with this, and then and it's just kind of snowballed. Like some older people only know me from that, and they're like, they think like, I've known you for years. You're brilliant. I've seen you singing. Or the funny one I get is, oh, what happened to you?
Oh wow.
Yeah, because how come you never made it? And I'm like, they don't know anything about what I've done.
Well, yeah,
but that's fine.
Being politely rebellious in Pompey, this is how shit's done. Keeping it real.
That's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's an element of naivety to it.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I went into my bank, and another long story short, I went in and I said, hey, I do plan to pay everything off. I've been told that in 3 days' time I get this cheque for £27,000. The rest of it comes in a few days' time. And they went, okay, would you like some money now?
Oh wow.
And I was overdrawn.
Oh wow.
And I went, oh, can I? They went, yeah, what do you want? And I went, £3,000? They went, okay. And they literally put £3,000 into an envelope for me.
And that wasn't because the money had hit your account.
No,
that was on the pretense because you'd been on the show and they knew
it's gospel.
It was coming.
Yeah, they knew it was coming, and they could not have been nicer. Like,
oh wow. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes, Mr. Tremain. But funny enough, we went to Curry's We went to Curry's to go and buy. We've just been offered our little flat. So I literally went and bought everything for my flat. I went in there and I got to the door. And this is exactly what happened. I got to the door and I was met at the door by somebody like, oh, and I could hear people like, and I sang Over the Rainbow by Eva Cassidy, and I went in and the music just stopped, and then Over the Rainbow started playing, and I'm walking around Curry's with a man in a clipboard.
Do they want me to join in?
Yeah, with a man in a clipboard, and I said, I felt like having a Pretty Woman moment. I went, I love one of them. I love one of them. I love one of them. I love that toaster. Can I have this toaster?
And imagine the difference of that experience compared to the Amber that may have walked in like 4 weeks before.
It's so it's so fickle. Honestly, it really is. And you know what? I would have been happy if I'd just been given £1,000 and I could pay off my debt and get a washing machine. I felt like a millionaire. I felt like a millionaire with that. But I did win a substantial amount of money, and it was great because my family had a brilliant Christmas that year. I paid off so many people's debts, including a whole other side of people that, you know, it didn't work out, but it was it happened, so that's fine. And I lived on it for like 10 years. I carved my career out with support of that money. So as soon as it was done, within weeks I'd applied as a vocal coach. So I wanted to become something, but I felt like, going right back to the beginning of this conversation, I felt like there was more to me than just sing. I didn't know who I was as a singer yet, but I knew I wanted to sing with people and teach and entertain. And so I bought equipment and I applied
laid those foundations for you to kind of find your way and raise your son. Which is just
exactly, and he's been a part of it ever since. So
he's musical as well, right?
He's very musical. He's a great singer. He's a songwriter. He raps brilliantly.
Sing publicly?
He sings. He was one of the lead singers in one of my bands together, and also he plays the percussion in another band. So he's all like.
That must just feel so magical.
It's really cool.
How did you juggle that? I mean, being a young mum, obviously you said you parted with his dad quite early on, so you're juggling.
I don't think I'd have been able to do anything without my mum. I mean, like, we've got a strong family network, but I was the eldest, so when I had my son, my sisters were 16, 12, 16, 14 and 12, so it wasn't like you could be like, have the kids, you know. My sister Leonie, she did a fair bit of babysitting between 16, 17 and 18, but my mum had my last two sisters sandwiched between my son. So Olivia came along, and then sort of like 18 months later, Josh came along, and then my youngest sister was a couple of years after that. So although he's an only child, he's never felt like an only child.
Because you've got that.
Everyone just bundles in. So without that support network.
Play dates.
And my mum used to come to everything. So she saw what I was trying to achieve. So if she wasn't babysitting, we'd be out with the kids and they'd be coming along to those kind of things.
But she knew that she was helping you because of the fact that you were grafting and you were trying to create.
She has always been the one who's going, go on, go on, step up there, you can do it. You know, bribing me. She owes me a lot of money for bribes. Bribing me.
Keep it going. And then. That wasn't your first experience of TV, was it?
Well, that was technically my first experience of TV.
But it wasn't the only one.
It was not the only one.
No.
So exactly 20 years later, which I can't believe it's been that long, exactly 20 years later, in the middle of lockdown. The lockdown changed me. It sounds really silly because I know a lot of people lockdown changed them. But it made me go, what do I want? What do I want to do?
I think
Who am I?
Enabled that introspection for a lot of people, right?
And it was like a fight or flight, do or die, sink or swim moment for a lot of artists, a lot of singers.
There was a movement, wasn't there?
There was a movement.
What was the hashtag?
Really cool. Like it was a retrain thing, wasn't it?
Like create like monies.
Do you know what's?
I think because they just got, with all the furloughing and the grants that were available, and I think the creative industry just got completely sidelined, and it was just absolutely brutal.
The sad thing is, it's sad and it isn't sad, because I think everyone should just be happy in whatever they choose. And some people made the transition from being an entertainer to, say, working in a shop. And some people actually love what that's given them, which is security and you know, like you know, a pension and all those kind of things. And some people just don't mind, and some people switched. Yeah. And then they got, like, I know a fantastic entertainer who's gone back to entertaining now, but she got a job in Tesco straight away. She was like, I actually felt really like in two minds what I could do, because it's not that I didn't want to go and do those things, but I knew that if I did them, so much other stuff would have to stop, and I just couldn't part with it. Yeah. It was like, I just can't part with it to go and chase the security. So I thought, well, what can I do? And I was in the middle of my masters. Right. So I decided to refocus and change my master's degree to be focused on whether or not I could sustain a living online in comparison to being in the flesh. Yeah. What it did is I realised I could. It might not be the same amount of money, but there was definitely elements of it. I could still bring in an income, and then it forced me to get technically savvy. So I was, myself and my ex at the time, we decided to look at what equipment was needed in order to get the audio perfect, and then the visual perfect, and then I started to start looking at stats on social media and like when are people on, when do people want this, putting out surveys, and I was using it all for my masters at the same time. And then we just learned it was like being on TV every single Sunday, and I ended up doing a live stream every Sunday 4 till 6, and it became very popular. And I remember one of the ones I did on my rooftop was the first time I ever met my neighbours, and we'd only lived there since November, and it was kind of like it was April, May time. And I remember I sent an invitation to all my neighbours. Oh wow. Like we must have put out about 70, 80 invites to people's doors. Just saying, we're going to be going live on the rooftop. If you hear music, this is what I do. Here's a link to my music. So obviously I was using it as like a tool as well. You know, I joined the local, at the time we were living like in Lee Park on the cusp near Asda, and we I used it. I joined loads of groups on Facebook. In the community, so this is what I'm doing, and I got met with so much positivity. And I said to my neighbours, I said, if this is something that isn't really up your street, I apologise now, please let me know, and you know, we can sort something out. And I didn't get a single in fact I got loads of inbox messages saying, we're so happy you're doing this, we can't wait, we remember you from the telly. And so you had a few of them, and that community and camaraderie, it was brilliant community, and I feel like I've always had that community connection in some way, whether it's my family, whether it's my work, whether it's lockdown or something. And I ended up going on the roof, and I could see over the backs of the fences, people had put up bouncy castles, people had fired up barbecues, and I'd look over and I'd say on the live stream, you know, I could see you all, and then I'd get waves from like 18 houses down, and then I looked over the top of the rooftop, and there were people brought deck chairs out onto the front. People were coming past on bikes, and they hadn't seen each other for so long, and it was really emotional. And I remember I came offline and there were 7,000 people watching, and I was like, what has just happened? And then I put up a link saying, you know, I'm a musician, if you want to leave a tip, the price of a coffee, do here. And gifts. I finished my live show, 2 hours, and I made the same amount of money as I would have done if I'd gone out and got paid. And I went, oh, okay, so if you took this seriously, this model, we can do something with this. So I did all sorts of like reinventions of it, and then I got an inbox from the BBC, and they said, we've been watching you, basically saying so many words. As you do, Scout, and they just said, we've got a brand new TV show starting called I Can See Your Voice. Oh wow. Yeah, I Can See Your Voice, and we'd love you to consider being a good singer. So basically, if you haven't seen I Can See Your Voice, it's a BBC programme. It's hosted by Paddy McGuinness. You've got like Jimmy Carr and I've seen Alison Hammond. Snippets of it. It's really fun, really fun. But the whole point of it is you're supposed to no one's supposed to give the game away. You're supposed to convince some contestants that you're all good singers. But there are some like bad singers, and the bad singers are also contestants, so they're playing against each other. The good singers, however, are just employed to be there. So we all just got a flat fee, and that was cool. And I got to sing and do stuff that was brilliant to help me. So I use it as a great opportunity. But that's incredible. And so we did that, and then it went crazy again. So exactly 20 years to the month, more or less. That's insane. And and then I've done, you know, just a few dotted things here and there, and done some live TV with some great artists that I've worked with. And why haven't you done like some backing?
I mean, that blows my mind too. I think this often about really good vocalists when they are backing singers, and sometimes they're better singers than the people that they're backing.
It's crazy.
How is that for you as somebody who is a leading lady?
Well,
to be a backing singer?
Do you know what though? The funny thing is, and my sister would agree with this as well, because we're both lead singers in our own right. But but we've been backing singers for both of us for each other, but also for so many people together. And now my other sister Olivia, she's part of the fold, so she'll come out with me and we do stuff together. But it's a funny thing. There's a TV show, a series a long time ago called, I think it was called 50 Feet from Stardom or something, about backing singers that are very, very successful in their field, but they're just not the famous people. And for me personally, I always was the backing singer. So we had an originals band, and my sister would be at the front, and she'd also be the lyricist and kind of the main songwriter. And I kind of felt for a long time that my job was to back. You know, I played the piano for her, and did the backing vocals. She never wanted that. She always wanted to be a backing singer, but she was just the natural choice at the time. And I played the piano, so it was like something you just sit down and you accompany. And I think what it was is, for the longest time, so from the moment I did This Is My Moment when I was age 20, right up until sort of like 30, maybe 38, 39. I played for other people, and I sang for other people, and I entertained other people all the time, and I was accustomed to it, and I was used to it. And it wasn't until sort of like maybe 2016, 2017 that I decided to go out and just entertain on my own, mainly for income. It was it was an income decision. And then I started to find my voice,
and your style,
and my style, and then the constant singing every single weekend helped me to train. And I was like, when you're a backing singer, you're training in a whole different way. When you put yourself in that lead vocal position, you become somebody else. And then I started to get that bug, and I was like, I actually really enjoy this. I love this, and I feel like I'm a different person. And then I kind of lost my bottle with the keys, because I thought, I don't sing the same. I'm concentrating on that.
Not hide behind the piano.
I don't want to hide behind it, so I stepped out of it a little bit more. It wasn't even like stepping out of the shadows, because me and my sister were very well known together. You know, we did loads of harmonies for loads of different people, and we loved it. But coming out and then doing that gave me extra confidence, and then it gave me confidence to write my own music and not necessarily help with other people's music. I had to just do it on my own, and I poured my heart and soul into some stuff, and then people started going, "That's really good," and I was like, "Oh, I've got to do something with this now." and honestly and truthfully, you get addicted to. I'll do all sorts. I'll sing for all different amazing people, but I got addicted to performing my own music, and now I can't go back, and I love it. No, it's great.
So when you're performing and you're gigging, do you do a combination of the two?
So where I've got loads of gigs where it's purely original music, and I've got a fantastic band, and we go out and perform. And then I've got loads of great residencies, and I do a lot of private parties. And it's been very, very eye-opening when I've gone to a gig and I'm singing other people's music and entertaining diners, and somebody comes over and says, "You're going to sing one of your own? You're going to sing this tonight?" And I go, "Oh, you know." So that's really nice. It's really lovely.
So one of the things that I absolutely adore about you, and one of the reasons why I see you as such a powerhouse, is the fact that you're self-sufficient and you're an independent woman, and you support yourself through music.
I do.
So, and there's no disrespect to all the incredible musicians and creatives that are out there working a 9 to 5 and doing music. You know, you've got to do what you've got to do. I mean, God, I juggle about 3 jobs, but that's freaking incredible, isn't it?
It is. It's really hard, but also it's all I've ever really known. So when I won the TV show and I got thrown into that environment, I decided there and then that was going to become my life. And so I kind of registered myself and did all the stuff I needed to do, become a vocal coach in school. So I ended up doing a lot of teaching as well. And the whole way through my career, where it's been balanced with live music, I've also had the counterbalance of teaching. So, and it's grown and grown and grown. And I've been able to go from quite generic teaching to quite niche teaching. So I am literally, I would consider myself to be a specialist vocal coach in contemporary music, you know, or current pop vocals. And that's my niche. But at the time I was kind of taking on everything. But from the moment I left school, and I got myself a little bar job. I also got myself a little part-time Christmas temp job in a record store, a record store basically, and they sold CDs, and it was in Havant called Now. And I remember I did that, and I thought, wow, this is so cool. I'm just hanging around with music all day. Yeah, literally. And then I had my child, and then I won This Is My Moment. Yeah. And then I got equipment, and then I went out and gigged, and then I did a few agency gigs, then I joined a band, and then we started gigging, and then I became a vocal coach. Yeah. So I was doing gigs at the weekend, and I was teaching during the week, and then the schools then multiplied, and I was working in 4 or 5 different Hampshire-based schools. Then I had a PC, Portsmouth City Council kind of code for my teachers, because I was working in so many different Portsmouth City Council schools, and so I suddenly thought, oh, this is really cool, but I'm working in music. Yeah. I'm teaching music. I'm teaching a choir. And then I set up my own group called YTA, which stood for the Young Talent Awards. It's crazy. Honestly, I love. My son always takes the mickey at me for it. Where I always love abbreviating something to 3 initials or something.
Good old acronyms.
All the time. And I did that, and I ended up with sort of 15, 16 kids every single Wednesday that would come in, and their parents would pay for dance, drama and music. So I used to do an hour of dance, an hour of drama, an hour of music. Wow. And so they'd come in, and for every Wednesday for 3 hours straight I'd be there teaching and creating shows, and I just always wanted to do it. Yeah. And then after that I got into South Downs College, working there, and from there you've got the college in Brighton that I was working for, and I've ended up kind of staying true to myself and becoming a music teacher or a musician. There have been times like lockdown where I have toyed with the idea of becoming a delivery driver. I just couldn't quite bring myself to take the step into retail, because actually I didn't have any retail experience. I worked in a record store over a Christmas period when I was 19, and actually I don't possess anything on my CV that will get me that job. I can't get a job in Tesco's.
But it's when that imposter syndrome sets in. I mean, I'm a nightmare for it, and I'll have moments. I've been having a wobble recently, and the imposter syndrome, the anxiety's been on a whole new level, and I've been panicking and thinking, oh God, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to get a job doing this, working for someone else. And then I ended up, I'm the type of person where I build it up in my head. Yeah. And then after about 6 weeks, I was suddenly word vomit all over my husband.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And he's like, Kashia, he's like, you're on plan B. He's like, come and talk to me when you're closer to plan Z. He was like, you're fine.
This is the thing. This is exactly, he is so right. Because, and that whole cliche thing of, go back 5 years and ask yourself where you wanted to be and what you wanted to do. Yeah. And the fact that you're still floating and you're still here. For me, I am, and my other half talk about this a lot, I have been one of those people, I'm always one of those people that just says, right, I need to earn this amount this month, I need to make sure that's paid for, I need to do this, I need to do that. What am I going to do? Yeah. And how do I get there? How do I get there? Yeah. And things start to kind of even out, and I've been quite into creating passive income streams recently, and looking at applying all the things that I've learned into areas where, a resource. So I'm thinking, okay, that's great. And that's part of my teaching. Yeah. I love that. I teach from home and I gig a lot, and I just think to myself, if you want more of that, you've got to grow with that. You've got to take that model. Yeah. And
it's when you realise that all of that time and energy that you've spent on that anxiety and that imposter syndrome, actually, if I just spent all of that time working towards making this awesome, it happens.
Yeah, I think you've just got to be, you've got to believe in what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I will be the first one to put my hands up and say there have been many times I've had wobbles, what am I even doing this for? Yeah. And then it only takes one thing for somebody to come up to you and just say, you changed my life because of this, or because of you, or when you taught my daughter, and I'm like, that's why we do it. Yeah. That's why we do it. And not everybody is meant to sit in front of a computer and crunch numbers. Yeah. Some people are meant to entertain and inspire, bring happiness to people in whatever way they're doing that. Yeah. And that once I'd accepted that, I was like, but that's my job now.
You become lighter
you
about
become
it.
You become it. And I think that is a really important tip for anybody. You know, if you want something, you have to become something. You have to live it. Yeah. And if you don't live it wholeheartedly, then expect not to do it wholeheartedly. That doesn't matter if you're juggling, but it won't be your full-time life.
You've got to put yourself in it. So I am a coach and I am a podcaster.
There we go. That's all I know.
That's who I am, mate. That's who I am. Being politely rebellious in Pompey. So tell me, Amber, what is the most politely rebellious thing you've ever done?
Okay, right. So there is actually one thing, and it's again, it sounds like a cliche.
We're down for the cliches.
And I can't swear, so you'll have to get the gist of what I'm saying.
We can bleep.
Okay,
Yeah,
we're gonna bleep.
we're gonna bleep.
Okay. When I stopped giving a fuck.
When I stopped giving her. Yes,
that actually it is exactly what it says on the tin, because basically there was a period of time, especially around social media, where social media now for me is a tool.
Yeah.
Right, it's my business tool.
100%.
Yeah.
The blue ticks done me wonders.
It's my business
Just
tool.
Doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, right, that's business. That's not me.
To anyone.
It's business.
Yeah. To anyone that feels like they're just a little bit too shy to put themselves out there. If you don't put yourself out there, you won't be seen, because it's not like the old days. You know how you used to walk around with your CV and hand them into a shop to get a job. What are we supposed to do if we're trying to run a business, if we're entrepreneurs, if we're trying to be self-employed, or if we're trying to be creative and get seen? The whole reason that exists for us, fly in my face.
That was a fly.
I'm a ninja. The whole reason that exists for us, and if you use it rightly, is to show people what you can do. And there was a time when, like, we had MySpace when we were younger.
God, yeah, I remember the day.
So MySpace was all about friends.
Don't stay in, was it?
Oh God.
Photos. Oh
God.
Oh
God. Lordy. But yeah, like, MySpace was all about how many friends you had, and then organising those top friends into your category at the top, so you could see.
Show them, right? Wasn't it supposed to be about music though?
It was about music. It was.
Yeah.
And I have a lot to thank MySpace for, because our band initially, when we were young 20s, our band was picked up by MySpace, and that is how I ended up recording on the Eva Cassidy album and getting a gold disc, and how I ended up doing work with Boy George. So
as you do,
drop a name.
Eva Cassidy and Boy George.
But if it wasn't for MySpace, we wouldn't have made those connections in that network, and we wouldn't have gigged in some really cool places. But then fast forward, sort of like maybe 2014, 15, 16, and there was a time when, like, your social media, like Facebook, was very, very like kind of active, and you could do different things and promote yourself, but a lot of people, for some reason, were quite negative about it, and like, posting up your food again, or God,
honestly,
we don't want to see you kids on school day. It's like all this stuff. And although it does exist now, people give a fuck less.
Right? 100%.
You see what I mean? People are a bit more strong, because we talk about mental health now, and we talk about not giving a crap.
Let me be me.
It's okay to not be okay.
Unfollow me if you don't like it.
Exactly. And you have that option. Social media now has a lot more options available to people, rather than just delete and get rid and offend. It's like you can mute, or you can hide that activity, you can scroll past, you can do whatever it is. We didn't have that then. And there were, a few people that were quite close to me that seemed to judge me quite a lot, and they were like, God, God. And I remember,
and it's funny, isn't it, that it's the sometimes the closer to the home it is, so like people who you actually know, acquaintances and stuff. I had somebody say to me recently, well, actually it was August last year, but whatever, quite recent. Oh, you're putting yourself out there. And I just looked at them and I was like, I have to.
Do you know why they say
no
that?
Choice.
Do you know why people say, oh God, oh cringe, oh, why are you doing that? Because they are afraid to do it. That's all it is. And I learnt that the hard way. And I think they literally, a few people mentioned to me that it was all a bit much, and a few people delete you and do this or what have you, and I was embarrassed to push myself and to use that, and I recognised that it was a tool, and I was like, but I need this, because how else am I going to get other work and other gigs, and I want to be singing for that person, and I want to be doing this, and I want to be known for that.
So if I listen to that minority,
but I listened to it too long. I listened to it too long, and I think if I'd listened to it maybe if I'd stopped listening to it 5 years earlier, I might have achieved other stuff.
100%. But it's one of those things where I think you go, I mean, I know I'm at this point in my life now where I'm like, if I don't do this now, I'm going to completely miss that boat. And I feel like I've already missed too many boats, because
time does not wait.
I've had the idea, but I've listened to those little niggles too
you
much.
You can get more money in life and you can change the way you look, but you can never get your time back.
Yeah, 100%.
And I literally spent too long worrying about what other people thought about me and offending people and like, oh, maybe they're right, or maybe I shouldn't do this, maybe I shouldn't post that. And it took for one woman out who was really lovely to me, and we had a lovely drink together, and she seemed to be really nice. And then one day I realised she wasn't my friend anymore. She got a bit drunk. She came up to me, she went, "You're just too much." And I was like, oh God, it just hit me in the heart. I was like, oh my God, I literally bought you a bottle of wine the other night.
I know, right?
And I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And then even my family, I mean, they would never be like that now.
Yeah.
But even then it was like foreign.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? Oh, what are you doing? Yeah, and then one day I just woke up and went, I'm just not going to give a fuck.
Not going to give a fuck. I feel like the next collection of Politely Rebellious t-shirts and hoodies, we're going to have one called the Amber. It's going to have Stop Giving a Fuck.
Yeah, just stop giving a fuck.
Just stop giving a fuck.
Because when I did that, great things happened.
Yeah.
And even like down to, I used to gig a lot at a certain lady's restaurant who, she doesn't own it anymore, it's all gone now.
Yeah.
And I remember she used to have me all the time, and I always felt like I was like a loyal singer to her and she was a loyal person to me. And then one day she saw me at a gig, and she stood at the back and she spoke to my sister, who she was a bit drunk, and she turned around and she went, Amber's fantastic. She went, but she's got so fat.
Oh my God, that's
literally
so awful.
She was so fat. And I remember hearing it and going, meh. And that was the first time.
She said it not expecting you to hear.
No, yeah, my sister told me straight away. She was like, my sister came up to me. She went, she is a bitch. And I went, why? I said, she's lovely. She went, well, she said this. And I went, oh. And I thought, actually, that's okay. She can have her opinion. She's drunk. That's all right. And then I remember the moment I could deal with that and be okay with it, everything changed.
Right.
I stopped giving a crap about what other people thought. I stopped worrying about what I was posting. I stopped worrying about if people deleted me because it was a them problem, wasn't a me problem. Yeah. And then I also thought to myself, no, I want this stuff to happen. Yeah. I want it. So if I don't do it...
It's funny sometimes how somebody or some people can say things or do things that are supposed to completely destroy you, and yet those are the things that build you back up.
They are.
Yeah.
They build you back up, and the only reason people do those things is because they are too afraid to do them themselves. Yeah. It's a foreign concept. Some people have that upbringing too, where they're not used to people putting themselves out there. The reason why my family are so good at embracing each other is because we are used to it. We're a big, loud, female, empowered family. You know.
I mean, Christmas.
It's crazy.
Tremains, it must be incredible.
It's crazy.
How's Colin found coming into a big musical family like
Colin
that?
is the best, because Colin, he's the most amazing man, because he not only is a musician and he's an artist and he is a fantastic wordsmith. He used to be the head of behaviour at school, so he's been in education. He's also
we've got so much in common.
He's also, you know, he works in grounds work. He's a physical man. He's been a personal trainer. He's been bloody Portsmouth's strongest man. He's done all of these things.
I get the feeling she likes Colin.
I love him. He is my biggest inspiration. But him coming into my family, it was the best thing, because I think that he would admit that he was one of those people that kind of looked and was a bit judgy.
Right.
Not when we first met each other, because that's when he was out there as a musician doing his stuff. But even then, he was withdrawn a little bit and a bit kind of apprehensive.
Yeah.
And then
Not
when you get thrown into my family, and he lovingly calls us the coven. The coven. We're going around to the coven. I said, you're the biggest warlock of them all. I said, he walks and he's a peacock. He loves it. He's great, and they all love him. So, but he's very, very good at handling it all, because he's so similar to me.
Yeah.
We've got a goal.
Yeah.
We've got a goal, and it's to be happy doing what we love.
And that's just, I mean, what a way to just summarise the whole conversation that we've had. The importance of being politely rebellious in Pompey is people doing what they love. It's people staying true to themselves. And sometimes it takes you a while to get there, you know.
It takes you a while,
but it's getting there that's important. Right?
And sometimes you just have to change the route a little bit. One of the best things I ever learned was you can set yourself goalposts, but those goalposts can be moved. You know, so if you say, okay, in 6 months' time I'm going to be here, but in 6 months' time it's not happening, you can't see that as a failure. You just have to push it. You have to push it back and go, okay, well, the goal post is a bit different now.
I sometimes do this thing where in my head I set myself goals and targets and stuff, and I then beat myself up about it, like everyone can see what's inside my head, and I have to remind myself on like a probably monthly basis, people can't see what's in my head. So
People can't see.
Thank God they can't see inside this head. But you know, so it's okay to just change things a little bit, tweak things.
It's good to be accountable to someone.
Yeah.
And I think if you've got someone you trust, like your husband or it's Cole, you know, we make plans together and then we check in with each other.
Yeah.
Like, how's that going? And then some days I'll be like, didn't even get around to doing that today. I did this.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's cool because that's important.
Yeah.
And I'll say, did you get round to recalling that person? He'll go, no, I have not even done that yet. And so we're like, okay. And then we are forever making to-do lists on our phones. And
oh my God.
Like, we'll sit there, we'll have a cup of tea in the morning, and he'll say, right, we need to go out and have a meeting. So we go out, we get coffee, we get breakfast, we have a meeting, and we sit there and we do posts and we do all these things together. And I brought him to the other side, which is obviously the social media side. He was never
the dark side.
Yeah, it's literally the dark side. But if he hadn't have done that, he wouldn't have known that his passion is in art, and that he is much more of a musician than he knows he is. And you just have to not give a fuck. Just believe in yourself, and just if you love what you do, it's worth pushing.
100%, totally agree. So if you could see somebody on Being Politely Rebellious in Pompey, is there somebody who you'd like to see?
Well, you absolutely have to have Colin.
She said it.
Honestly, it will blow your mind. So he's coming in, and that's it. He's brilliant, and you'll never get over it. But who else would I like to see? There's quite a few people actually, but
You see how this was hard for me when I sat there and was
really
like,
hard.
I'm going to do this podcast, and who do I want on there? And I've just got this like never-ending Excel spreadsheet.
You have to get Nick Courtney in.
Yeah,
Do you know Nick?
yeah. Well, a note of him. Yeah,
Right. So
huge on the music scene.
Yeah. So the reason why I love Nick Courtney, even from we don't really get to do much together at all now, and I respect him because what it is he's very good at bringing up people, and then you get to a certain level and you kind of ended up doing your own thing, and they really just reach out when they need something, and that's how it should be when you get to a certain point. But Nick is a grafter, so he not only is he prolifically working on the gig scene, he starts off,
and he's done that for donkeys.
He's done it all of his life, and that's the thing that I like about it. He loves that, so he's made that his life, and he's had different like variations. Like now he's obviously a booker, so he does a lot of stuff and promotes a lot of events and stuff. But he gets the job done, and that's something that's really, really important about Nick. Whether you love Nick, whether he's Marmite, whether he's not, he works really hard at what he does, and he doesn't change his approach. It is what it is. But he has given so many people in Portsmouth, regardless of whether they're original bands, whether they are makeup artists, whether they're, a tribute band or something, whatever it is that you do in terms of music, you've probably done something for Nick.
Right.
Do you see what I mean?
And he's helped lift people up, pull people up.
He does, and he does. And I think that it would be, I've done a really good little chat with him years ago. A 3-part series when I was doing something for my students. And you could talk all day, probably to someone like that, and get so many cool things out of him.
Right, well, Nick, we're coming for you, mate. We'll see you soon on Being Politely Rebellious.
But Colin first.
Colin first. So, tell us, what does summer look like for Amba Tremain?
Well, the summer is crazy. It's crazy. It's been crazy since like April onwards. But at the end of every month, we are at the rooftop bar in Southsea Castle.
Nice.
So, and it's just the best.
Is that with Colin?
So Colin percussion.
Yes.
Me singing, and it's got real classy summer Ibiza / like just kind of like just summer vibes to it. So if you haven't been to the rooftop, it's incredible. I love it there. I've got a little residency at Cold East Mansion in Fareham. Have you ever been there?
No.
Cold East is beautiful. There's a big mansion set in this beautiful grounds.
Wow.
They do an incredible roasting on Sundays, but I'm doing the odd Saturday and Sunday throughout the whole summer.
In the evenings?
Afternoons.
Yeah.
Family fun.
Oh,
so
nice.
it's really, really nice. So good for families as well.
And it just constantly, I don't know about you, but it just constantly blows my mind how much there is going on in and around Portsmouth.
That is Portsmouth. Portsmouth is rife with entertainment and activities and everything. So you only have to walk 100 yards and there's something on. So that's great. And my original band, my original music, we're playing Victorious Festival.
Ooh.
And the Floor Fillers are playing Victorious.
Oh wow!
So Friday,
really busy for you.
Friday afternoon, Floor Fillers are at 4:30.
Yep.
On the hay bale stage.
Nice.
And then in the evening at 7, I believe, we're over in the World Music Village with the Originals band. So Victorious will be great.
Yeah. Have you done Victorious before? Haven't you?
I've done Victorious every year. It's been on.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm really
what an
chuffed.
accomplishment as well. I remember, like all the people that run it and organise it. I remember them like working down at the One-Eyed Dog and the Belle Isle. And
we used to go and pick up our envelope with our wristbands in. Our paper wristbands.
Crazy.
I did the very first one at the dockyard called Victorious Vintage.
I remember that.
Yeah. So it's just it was incredible, and so we played every single one. And there was one year I did like 10 performances with different bands.
Yeah.
This is before I stepped out and took on more of a role myself. So it was really good. We've got Victorious, and we've got a festival, Sunset Festival in Gosport. I've got a massive festival in Petersfield over the summer, as well as a ton of private parties, weddings and stuff. So
stacked out.
It's busy.
Christmas is on Amba.
Well, I've got to get Christmas yet. I'm just about to advertise for Christmas, so if you want a pie.
Get that filled up, get that in. Yeah.
So,
and I know you're regular down at Aroma in Drayton.
I love Aroma, so big love to Aroma. We'll be sure to send her this as well. Kim and everyone there. I was there for breakfast today.
Well, oh god, literally brunch is to die for.
Yeah. But I love them. So we might have these big festivals and some cool things coming up. But then you have these really lovely smaller venues.
Yeah.
That it's like playing in your front room. But I wouldn't trade them for anything. I think they're brilliant.
Got a place in your heart.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. Big place.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, you're just amazing.
No.
I'm so grateful that you came.
I loved it.
I literally am so grateful.
Good fish to talk forever.
And you're amazing. Literally amazing. Being Politely Rebellious in Pompey, Amba Tremain. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you.
Fully. Sorry, Leah. Give me a minute.
Hey, Leah.
Hi, Leah.
Hi.
Yeah. I could just go tell them shut up. They listened to me last time.
You're gonna watch this back. It's brilliant. Your boobies are great.
Thanks, babe.
I paid for mine as well, but mine's all food.
Oh, for God's sake! I literally like
You paid for them as well. And pastries.
Do you watch my podcasting?
I have. What do I watch them?
Yeah.
I love podcasts. I love it all. I've done them. I've been on them. I did my own podcast for a while.
Yeah.
Without filming it. It was all audio.
Yeah, that's the.
So I'm used
common, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm used to editing and producing, and I work for Victory, and so I have to produce all my own shows.
Of course you do.
So that's all cool.
Yeah.
It was originally called Bedtime Bullshit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we speak a lot of random stuff
At bedtime.
just as we're about to go to sleep or we wake up.
That reminds me of children. No, I mean
Yeah.
you've got a son, so you can relate. Like whenever it's bedtime, that's when everything happens. Oh, he's hungry. He
Double
needs
diarrhea,
water,
gets up, has
he's
energy.
got anxiety and issues he wants to talk about.
No, literally, that is literally what it is for us. We decide to have full blown, like life affirming conversations. Just as we're about to go to sleep. But they were very, very honest.
Right.
And then for our first venture, we thought that's far too honest. We can't be like that. So we've just kept them in the can, kind of ready.
So you're going to warm people up with something else first?
Yeah, well, we have. So we've got another thing
bedtime
called
banter.
Yeah,
and
so
then bedtime
exactly.
bullshit.
So we had this camera, and then we realised, and I kept it firmly kind of fixed, and I just realised every time I went to the bedroom, it just looked terrible. So I was like, we can't keep that above the pillow. I said, because although we're doing a fun little podcast, it does not look like that.
Good. Yeah, it's like music only fans. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but we have another one called Muso Musings,
Okay.
which we started. Which there's an episode on YouTube, which we put out there, which again it kind of encapsulates the random ramblings that we have, but it also combines the music that we love.
Okay, that's amazing. I love that.
So we got that out, and it's really funny.
Okay.
And then we said we're going to do this every week.
Yeah. And then it just doesn't happen. I know.
No.
Right?
It just didn't happen.
The feeling.
So we just do it as and when.
Yeah.
For fun.
When you're like feeling it.
When we're feeling it.
We'll have to share a link on
absolutely
at the bottom of
ours.
ours.
It's good fun.